Welcome to the Relatable Oklahoma Realtors Podcast, the show that sets out to demystify the world of real estate. Whether you're a first-time home buyer, investor, or a realtor with years of experience, this is where real estate is discussed and explained. Join me now for our hosts, Stacy and Karis Stricker.
All right. Hi.
Hi. Welcome back.
Welcome back to Oklahoma, Relatable Oklahoma Realtor. Is that the name of our podcast?
Or it's Oklahoma Relatable Realtors.
Thank you guys for listening. We're here with Karis.
Hello. We've got
Burl Stricker.
And Stacy Stricker.
Yes.
Just came back from auction school.
Yeah. I'm going to put Stacy on the spot.
Gosh.
We recorded.
All right. Let me see.
All right. So tongue twister.
I feel like Burl should do this first.
Yeah.
So we had to do tongue twisters every day. Whoops. What did I do? I messed it up. What? How did I do that?
I don't know. There you go.
I like
I don't like
Tommy Tatamus took 2 T's, tied them atop of 2 tall trees. Tommy Tatamus took 2 T's, tied them atop of 2 tall trees. Okay, this is a hard. I just did it again.
This is going real well.
It's a sign. Don't do it. We don't need to do Betty Botter.
Yeah.
We need to do it.
No.
Tommy and Tatamus.
We'll do.
I like Tommy and Tatamus.
Go ahead.
I just did it. Tommy and Tatamus took 2 T's, tied them atop of 2 tall trees.
Good job. How about Betty Botter bought some batter, but she said that's already wrong. Betty Botter bought some butter, but she said the butter's bitter. If I put it in my batter, it will make my batter bitter. So she bought a bit of better butter, put it in her bitter batter. So it was better. Betty Botter bought a bit of better butter.
But we need to go like 100 times faster.
Yeah, way faster.
So when's the first auction?
I don't know. We need to have one soon.
We're working on that.
Yeah, we need to.
We're excited.
Very excited. Auctioneer school was good. Y'all listen up because in the next couple of weeks, we're going to have, I think the head of the auctioneer school who owns it, Mike Jones on.
Mike McGavel Jones.
You said that he used to work with United Country.
He was the president of the auction side.
Yeah.
And kind of married the two of auction and
I think that'll be exciting.
Yeah.
We're also going to have Clint.
Yeah.
What's Clint's last name?
Hunter.
That's right. We're going to have Clint Hunter, I think, next week. So in the next few weeks, it'll be good to listen to hear some of the auctioneer stories. Yeah. And we can also talk about auctioneering in general and all that. So,
yeah.
Sounds good.
It was fun. It was long.
It was long. 80 hours and 8 days.
I feel like it was really more than 80 hours.
Yeah, I think so.
We stayed in a hotel for 10 days.
That was a long time.
It was a long time.
It was a very long time. Well, so Karis.
Yes. Karis is our daughter-in-law.
Yes.
We're excited to have her.
We are excited to have you. We're always excited when you come visit.
Thanks. I feel like I'm here a lot, but not enough.
That's right. Not enough.
Not enough.
We're working on getting them moved here.
Mm-hmm.
Sooner rather than later.
So that brings us to, we kind of want to have Karis share her experience of she has sold a house and purchased and hopefully will be selling soon to move here.
Yeah. What was your experience like buying for the first time?
How old were you?
How old was I? Well, this was the house we're in now is the first one that we bought. So it was 3 years ago because that's how old Cambridge is. We closed 2 weeks after she was born.
That's a lot.
So it was a lot. So was I 26, 27, something like that? Yeah. 26? Mm-hmm. So I had gone through the buying process before because my mom invests in real estate and she happens to do it in cities that I live in. And so I was always the one going to look at houses and kind of go through that process. But this was the first house that I went through, like obviously the closing process and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So it wasn't too bad. We had a really good realtor in Lubbock. I mean, I think she was good for my unqualified opinion. But she made it really easy. I think the hard part was just picking at the time, like which house we liked. Or then when we found the house that we liked, that was like a little out of our budget, like what can we do to try to make it work, you know?
Yeah. So did you guys look at a lot of houses? How many do you feel like you looked at?
We looked at, I wouldn't say a lot, but probably 10, I think. There was a few that like we would drive up and our realtor would get out of the car and be like, this isn't the one for you. Get back in the car. Like
Really?
we didn't even go inside, and we just trusted her and was like, okay. And so,
how did you meet this realtor?
Well, so when I first moved to Lubbock, for grad school, my mom bought that house that we lived in, or that I lived in. And so I think we just called like a random,
like off the sign,
an office, not even a sign.
Oh, okay.
Because I had never been to Lubbock. I mean, I had been there, but not like since I was an adult. We didn't have any like recommendations. So I just looked a realtor up I looked an office up that had good like reviews and stuff. And she was just happened to be the one that got like the next realtor in line for my phone number, I guess. I don't know.
So she was probably on floor time at the office, I bet. If you called the office.
I don't know that I put that much stock before like meeting you into reviews. I just didn't think reviews are really that important. I mean, I understand somebody has a bunch of bad reviews. Yeah. Okay. They're not good. But I think it's you kind of show me that reviews are important. I worry about the person who's you have the idiot who all of a sudden just reviews people.
Yeah,
bad.
I don't just go off of the bad reviews.
Yeah, no, those are the ones that worry me because you can't get them off, and they're
and I'm bad. I like when I go to look for something, I sort by the worst reviews first, and I want to read about people's worst experiences first, and I still look at like, well, how many good ones are there compared to the bad ones?
But I think you can sift through the BS ones, can't you? Like if you see one that you just know that this is something.
But I also look at the bad ones because I think it says a lot about a company and how they handle bad experiences. Like every company, realtor, whoever is going to have a negative experience, but like how do they handle that? And so I like to read the bad reviews because sometimes it's like they're negative, but they're not negative about the way it was handled. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or sometimes you read bad reviews and then the owner of the company is like arguing back with them in the review. And I'm like, that's not the company I want to associate with.
Yeah.
I know I was working with a company and they had, we were looking at the reviews and the last reviews they had were like 2 years ago. And you could tell it was a disgruntled employee, and so, but it was very obvious. It was a disgruntled employee. It wasn't a customer who had bad experience.
Yeah. Reviews are so important. But that's how, like, when we went to Vegas, I picked all of our restaurants before we went because we knew it was going to be busy. We didn't want to wait. And I based them all off reviews. And they were we had a great experience at all of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it wasn't that they all had 5-star reviews. So,
yeah.
So you picked it off reviews.
So we picked it kind of off. We picked the office off reviews and then kind of had the attitude like, well, like at the time I was living in Las Vegas, finishing up college, and my mom's in Fort Worth. And so we were both flying into Lubbock for spring break and we were going to spend a week in Lubbock. And so the realtor, we were like, look, we have a week. We need to look at as many properties as we can. And my mom was kind of like, we'll see how she's after this week. If we don't like her, we'll pick another realtor or whatever. But she was great. And I appreciated with her that, like, we hadn't been to Lubbock. We don't live there at the time. And so I'd send her a property, or my mom would send her a property. And she was very direct of like, you're not going to like that side of town, or you're not going to like, like she wasn't afraid to basically kind of tell us, no, I'm not going to show you this property because it's not going to be like what you want. Or she was like, I wouldn't let my daughter live on this side of town. So we appreciated that.
It's kind of a no-no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well.
But that was, obviously she felt comfortable with you to do that.
I guess so, yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
We appreciated it, so.
Yeah, not wasting
But that was
your time.
that was the first house when you were going to school. And
Yeah. So when we were ready we needed to move when we were having Cambridge because we needed some more space. I just called her because we had a good experience with her before.
So did she stay in contact with you after?
She would. Actually, she, like, when I had Cambridge, she brought us dinner one night, which I was like shocked by. But even, that was years, even like right after the house, she would follow up and just, see how you're liking the house or whatever. And then periodically over the years, we would get, mail from her. Maybe it was a calendar or maybe it was promotional stuff, but we were still her name was always in front of us.
That's perfect.
Yeah. And again, like, we had such a great experience with her that we stuck with her. And it was funny, like, my mom owns 5 houses in Vegas. And it was the same thing with that. Like I was involved in the purchase process of all of those as well. Like just looking at the houses and whatnot. And it was the same thing. Just found a random realtor in Vegas for the very first one. And then he's been my mom's realtor.
I'm real curious. And there's a couple of things that I'm curious about. Like, I don't think and I know what you're saying. It's like, I wonder if you really dived in on that random. It's like, how did you, maybe you don't remember, but part of it, I'm real curious about the random
Google.
part. Did you Google it?
The one in Vegas, I'm not sure. That was so long ago. I have no idea. But the one in Lubbock, I mean, I'm the one that found her. My mom was like, if we're going to do this, like you're in charge of it, find someone that can show us houses, whatever. And so I literally Googled like good realtors in Lubbock.
Yeah.
And her name didn't pop up, but her office did. And then it was just luck of the draw.
Like for takeaways as, realtors, like getting started, the 2 things you said she does, which we're big on in our office, is reviews. Actually, 3 things. Google, which we're real big on, not just our office, but every realtor in the office has their own. And third is adding them to their sphere, and that we always stay in contact. So we have a system in place where after they close, we're not just done. We don't forget about them.
I do want to pause a second because I think somebody listening who's not in a real estate business, they may say, and I don't want to obviously talk negative about that particular realtor you're talking about because she did a good job and you're happy with her. But, Stacey, you want to go into kind of why what she was saying? I mean, just the short
of it.
It's not
a no-no.
Right. Yeah. Because I think somebody could be listening and say, why not? Why can't my realtor say this is not a great neighborhood? And just from the professional side of real estate.
Well, and it's very tempting because we do create these connections with our clients and you want to take care of them. And I get it too. I really do. But if someone asks to see a specific house in a specific neighborhood, you have to let them determine what their opinion is of that neighborhood, even if they're not familiar with it. So if they ask specific questions, is this a good neighborhood? Well, that's an opinion and we can't steer them towards it or away from it. It's called steering.
And I think too, like in this particular case, when we bought the first property in Vegas, when my mom bought it, we bought a property that we thought was going to be a good distance from the college that I was going to and all that kind of stuff. And after I had lived in Vegas for a few years, I realized like I wouldn't want to actually live in that property. My mom bought it a year before I I went to college. So I realized I wouldn't want to actually live in that property because it's so far away from the campus.
Right.
And so like my mom was like, well, it's a good investment property, but I wish we would have known that. And so we had told the realtor that like, we're trusting you because you have the knowledge of Lubbock. We don't. And so we probably opened that door for her to give us her opinion.
And then there's absolutely nothing wrong with saying, hey, I want to be close to campus or I want to be close to my work or I want, there's or daycare or school. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I think when it comes to anything that could potentially be seen as like racial, in other words, this is only one kind of demographics neighborhood or something.
Yeah. Or I wouldn't let my daughter live in that neighborhood. And we all have those thoughts of certain neighborhoods. There's nothing wrong with that. We just can't always voice them.
So you use the same realtor for the house that you and your mom bought together with the one that you and Cortland, your first house, truly y'all's first house.
Gosh, and that's like the biggest compliment. Like I'm sure she appreciated that. And that's why she brought y'all over dinner.
Yeah.
Because that's a huge compliment.
And we still, we just got something in the mail from her. It's sitting on my desk, but we got something in the mail from her last year too.
Yeah.
And it's funny, I couldn't even tell you what office she works for. Like I have no idea who she works for, but I know her name, and because I know she's moved offices since we've.
Are you going to use her to sell the house when it's time? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect.
I'll use her for all our real estate in Lubbock as long as she's working.
I don't want to dive we don't have to know all the details, but I'm curious. Whenever you guys said, "Okay, we're going to buy a house," did you guys get pre-approved, or how did you deal with the finance side? Where in the process did you start saying, "Okay, I'm going to make sure that we're pre-approved," or whatever for the? And again, not necessarily the details. It's more of I'm just curious what order you did things.
Well, I mean, the first thing we did was reach out to the realtor. And obviously, there was, my mom actually bought that house, so we didn't have to sell it, but she did. And, so we didn't have a property to sell, but my mom used her to sell that property. And anyway, so I just reached out to her and said, hey, we're needing to move. We need something bigger. I had never gone through the actual full financial process and stuff. And so she was the one that really just walked us through that. And my mom as well, because she had bought so many houses. So, we did, pre-approval through our bank. And my mom kind of helped with that. And our realtor kind of guided us as well.
Yeah, that's good.
Because that's one thing we talk about a lot.
It sounds like someone we need to recruit.
There you go.
She sounds really good.
Always want to recruit.
She's great.
No, but I think it's just good to, I like to hear the thought process of, number one, how you found the realtor, but also, what steps you took and how, because we talk a lot about how it's important to get pre-approved when you're looking at buying a house, because your price range, you're not looking at houses that are outside your price range, but you're also,
right.
Even though you said you did, but it's in the eye of the beholder too, a little bit.
Yeah. Well, and I think, again, we just found a realtor that we really trusted. And so that was a no-brainer for me, was I'm going to reach out to her first, and she's going to tell me what I need to do and what next steps are. And and she walked us through the entire process. And,
do you remember if it was did you made an offer and they accepted it, or did you have to do several counter offers, or was there any of that negotiation back and forth?
Let's see. We made an offer. I'm trying to think if there was a counter. I don't fully remember if there was a counter, but our offer was listing price, because at the time there wasn't a whole lot of wiggle room in the market. I remember, and when I tell you this, you're gonna be like, that's all Cortland's doing, because it was. We tried to negotiate in for them to leave their hot tub.
That's common. That hot
Cortland
tub
was like,
I would, because those things are hard to move. I know.
Well, we were told it wasn't staying, and Cortland was like, let's offer asking price and see if they'll leave the hot tub.
That's funny.
That's fair.
They declined. And he was like, that's fine. But I don't think there was a whole lot of needing to negotiate, and the house, there was very little, few things on the inspection that had to be, they were super minor. So it was a really easy process.
I think you bring up a great point, and it's something for anybody listening and for myself, you kind of have to, and your realtor is your expert in this area, but you kind of have to know where the market is, because I've seen it a lot where I call it lowballing. We lowball. Well, there is a time to lowball, probably. There is, knowing how long that house has been on the market, knowing the current market, is our house, how long are they, in other words, are they selling at asking price? It's just the information, and that's where your realtor really is the expert in that and in helping you, because it will, if really houses are selling at asking price, and you go in there really lowball, it's you end up maybe even upsetting the seller. It could be.
There's three things that are going to happen. They're either going to accept your offer, which you obviously want, to counter it, or three, you've ticked them off and they're not going.
You're insulted them
to respond to your offer.
And our realtor was good about, of course, we want to get, the house we want as cheap as we can.
Right.
But she was good about saying, look, we could offer, we had a number in mind. She's like, we could offer that. I'd be shocked if they accept it. And she knew that really well. The other thing that she mentioned, and I'm curious if this is something that y'all have dealt with, but she recommended that we write them a letter, the owners a letter. And so I wrote a letter, I really pulled on the heartstrings, and I was like, we just had our daughter, I'm about to give birth to our daughter, and we can picture her running through the halls. And I really pulled out all the stops, and I told my realtor, I was like, I'll bake them cookies if that'll help. And she, laughed about it. So
was there multiple offers on the house? There was.
There was a few offers, and I don't remember, I don't even know if I knew what they were, but
probably not.
Our house is in a very popular neighborhood. And so it was kind of a long shot if we were going to get it. And so I just wrote this like super heartfelt letter and I sent it to our realtor and she was like, I think that's good. So she included it with our offer. Yeah. And
I've actually heard about that since I've been in real estate.
So I had a house listed in Yukon that the market over the summer was insane. And so I think we had like 7 offers on it. And there was an offer that came through with a letter. And the sellers were like, yeah, that's nice. But that one, it wasn't a good offer to go with the letter. So yours obviously probably was a good offer to go with the letter.
Yeah.
In that case, if you have really almost equal offers,
then that can
the letter may push you over the top.
Yeah. I don't know if the letter
has
anything to do with it.
But not if you're like way under and you're trying to.
Yeah. But the thing is they can only pick one offer to counter. So that could have made the difference was your letter. They could have been like, oh, they want a hot tub? Are they freaking kidding? We said no, the hot tub's not staying. But they went ahead and said, we'll counter theirs and say no hot tub because they can't counter all the offers.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
They did offer for us to pay them for the hot tub, but we didn't want to do that.
Right. So, but that's good. I think letters are good. Well, and we helped that couple that wrote a letter. Remember her telling us that they wrote the letter, but then they also told us that they wrote a letter when they bought the previous house and they weren't.
Yeah. I mean, I think that
they obviously didn't stay in that house. I think it may be,
when it comes to letter writing, I may be wrong, but it seems like that's kind of an older generation thing, meaning that if it's kind of an older person, maybe they'll really, because you don't see too many handwritten or written letters like that. Maybe that'll appeal to them. Yeah. But I think your offer has to be in the ballpark too.
Right. It has to be a good offer. But I like the letters. I think it's a good.
I think that's I forgot that story. Yeah. I remember. Now that you said it, I remember.
Yeah.
Well, then it was kind of cool because at closing, we passed each other at closing, and I, of course, had just given birth to Cambridge, so she was with me, and so they were like, "Is this the girl, the little baby that you were pregnant with?"
Sweet.
And so it was kind of, and like I was teary because we just loved this house, and so I was like, "I can't wait to move her in." And anyways, it was a really good experience.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Did what was kind of your after experience? Was there any negative like after you moved in? And do you feel like there was negative later when it comes to the house, or you were just completely satisfied?
I was just like in love with it.
Yeah.
I will say like the only so most of the houses that we had toured were empty, and this one was not. They were still living there, and they had the house just decorated adorable. It was like if they could have left everything there, I would have had them do that. It was amazing. So there was a little bit of once all their stuff was out and we went and saw it, it was like, oh. It wasn't as impressive just because of the way that they had it decorated, but I was still in love with the house.
Right.
I would love to hear Stacy's. I've heard it before, but I'd love to hear your thoughts because that is a big debate whether a house will sell better empty because you can envision your stuff there, or you sell with really looking cute and staged.
So we did not prompt Karis for this. So that just is another testimony as to why. Granted. Nice occupied homes sell better. Yeah. So if when people have a good decorating touch, yes, it is going to sell faster. Staged homes, occupied homes, whatever, because people can visualize how the furniture sits in the rooms and how big the rooms really are, because empty rooms look smaller.
And to this day, sometimes Courtland and I will pull up the listing photos of how they had it set up. And we're like, but look what they did. Because we just loved it.
That just proves the point right there.
But then on the other side of that, when my mom sold the house that we were living in, and I had asked the realtor, do we want to keep stuff in it? And I feel like I have no style when it comes to decorating. And our realtor was like, no, get it out. Because it just wasn't, not that our stuff was trashy, but there wasn't, decorating's just not our thing.
Right.
So she was like, this would probably help you if it was empty.
So there are some houses that I've walked into where I'm like, no, this will be better empty.
Yeah.
And it just maybe because their furniture's too big or whatever.
I think, but both of you guys are bringing up a good point, which is what we've been preaching or really talking about, and that is using professional advice. It's I think that if your realtor walks in and really depending on her or him to say, yeah, that doesn't look that great, we need to do this. Right. I think really following that advice. Because of exactly, you have a house that's really lived in, and we lived it. We have to raise that kid in this environment, but it may not be conducive for, a selling of the property.
Right. And it's a fine line as a realtor to say, this is what you need to do, because it is their home.
Yeah.
And they are very attached to it. Where I have found out later, like where I offended somebody because I told them what to do with their house. I'm like, oh my gosh. Or maybe I've lost a listing because I didn't tell them that their house would sell for $20,000 more than the second realtor that came in. But guess what? Then they listed it and then dropped the price. And, where we probably could have sold it faster if you just listed it with me at the price I told you.
Yeah.
To start
See, and
with.
I just have the attitude of like, I'm coming to a realtor because you're the expert in your field.
Yeah.
Right. Like I wouldn't expect you to tell Cortland how to put a roof on because you're not the expert in that field. So like, I'm going to ask your opinion and your advice because that's why I'm going to a realtor.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So I want you to tell me like, hey, you need to get your stuff out, or hey, you need to take this picture off the wall, or hey,
Yes, we do it in a nice way.
Yeah.
I think if you're not a real estate, in the real estate profession and you're listening to this, I think part of it is that you kind of have to disconnect yourself if you're going to sell your home.
Right.
Like in your mind, play it out that this is not going to be your home anymore.
Right.
That you are selling it for a reason.
You want to get the most.
You want,
the most money out of it that you can.
So part of that may be if you're really attached, you need to rethink why you're selling it, and then think about why you're selling it, and say, okay, I'm selling it.
Right.
I need to disconnect from it being my home, quote, and then realize that it's going to be somebody else's home, and maybe use that professional advice to put it in the best light possible for somebody else. I think about knickknacks. Like a lot of people,
right?
A lot of women are very into knickknacks. Men too. Men can be their own knickknack person, but knickknacks. It's like knickknacks are cool if that's maybe you collect something and you really like it, but yet that's not for everybody.
There's a house I sold last summer, and the guy used to be a police officer. Well, he had an assortment of guns, like really nice guns displayed, and then like in a cabinet that wasn't locked. Well, people like guns too, so I was like, hey, these need to be boxed up. And he was already in the process of moving to his new home. Like those need to go ahead and go to your new home. Because one, I don't want someone to try to steal them. And two, it's a safety thing. You don't want to show the house to some crazy and try to pull the gun out.
Well, and then how many times have you shown somebody a house and their kid is running around?
Yes.
And part of that, that's that safety issue. But, I think you're right. I mean, there is something, I think those things that are really personal, that are really, your hobby or your collection or your
people that build guns. Yeah.
There's all kinds of things like that, but going back to that professional advice and saying, letting them kind of, because they're looking at it from the outside view and saying,
right.
I think.
And he was very respectful. And because he was a police officer, he understood. Okay.
Yeah.
I need to put these away.
Yeah. I think that's good.
We'll go ahead and move those over.
So, you're considering, in the near future selling this house and moving. And so it sounds like you're going to call that realtor that you've dealt with, which is good. That's, I think everybody likes to hear that. Because you had a good experience. What do you think if you had to say concerns or thoughts about it or worries about it, where would those lie? Not just, I know moving in itself is stressful, but I'm saying just the idea of selling the house and what the process.
Honestly, my biggest stress about it is like, what do we have to do to get the house ready to sell? Because we're hard on our homes. We have 4 dogs. We have a crazy toddler. When we moved into that house, you would have thought it was built that same year because they had all the walls repainted. It was pristine. And the backyard was beautiful. It's just, we're hard on the house. And so
you live in it.
We live in it hard.
You're hard on it. You're living it.
So it's like, I'm already preparing of like, we're probably going to need to get the house repainted. What is that going to cost? The backyard, just because of the neighborhood, it's a fairly like affluent neighborhood. And so it's like, Is the backyard going to have to get some work done because we didn't maintain the flower beds? Our dogs ate the bushes and there's like some mud. And so that's really my stress of like, what kind of money are we going to have to put back into the house to get it back to where it was so that we can get the most money out of it.
If that was your client, what would you say to them?
Well, because they have these dogs and they're not going anywhere. Like, honestly, I would price out turf. Turf has become a big deal. Like,
yeah.
So you would recommend like to put turf in the backyard instead of interesting.
Huh. Well, and I think my first thing that came to mind, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I would also say, talk to the realtor when you're ready and say, what does she recommend?
But I would seriously price out turfing. Like, I would think, because it's more than likely going to be a buyer like you guys that bought it, like a young family. Could you imagine, like, oh my gosh, this turf is freaking amazing.
Yeah.
Who wouldn't want turf in their backyard?
Me, but
I was gonna say
I wouldn't want
for
turf.
the dogs and everything.
But here's the deal with turf is that, and I'm not obviously the expert in turf by any means, but with a lot of dogs, sometimes the smell,
still like
water, you have to do something. I don't know what all this stuff is. So like personally for me,
maybe a portion of turf.
You could do
the whole thing.
Yeah.
Maybe a
or
dog
you might
run
make a dog. That's what I'm about to say. Another option, dog run, because you do have big dogs. I don't know if they dig. I don't really.
They don't dig. It's just and this yard has actually held up really well. The yard at our old house had basically turned into dirt because of how hard they were on it. But there's like kind of an area and really like two corners of the yard that it doesn't get a ton of sun. And so it's just mud. And it's just from them running on it and whatnot. But they're not diggers.
If there's grass still there, then no, you don't need to do that. You could throw some fescue down. And then this is stuff like when I go to someone's house, like we brainstorm on, could you throw some fescue down and like, make a dog run area, because then it will be like every showing you have to load up all the dogs.
Right.
So if you had a dog
and
run
we
area,
had that issue. Like, luckily we closed on this house before we sold the other one.
Yeah.
Because we had the issue with the dogs. So we had to get the dogs moved before they could start showing the house because we didn't have anything to do with them.
Right.
What would, like, in your mind, Karis, just curious, do you think the time frame from the day you list it to the day you sell it? What do you think that time frame is?
I have no idea. I mean, I think when my mom sold the other house, I'm pretty sure she accepted an offer. Actually, I remember our realtor didn't even have her sign in the front yard before my mom accepted an offer on it. So it was super, 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 super fast. So I would kind of expect maybe not quite that fast, but
so probably like within 30 days.
Yeah, that would kind of be my guess.
That's crazy. I mean, it depends on the market.
It does.
And we're talking about a different market than here.
Yeah, and it would probably
here it would be probably 6 months, right?
I don't think so. No, because we still have a low inventory.
So you think what time frame you think here?
I would say like 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, 2 or 3 months.
Our inventory's low. No.
And I would guess that, it's bigger. It's a bigger market, but I would guess it would be close, probably in Lubbock.
Yeah, I have no idea.
I would think probably 30 days.
You think that faster?
Yeah, because they are such a big market.
Yeah.
And like I said, I know our neighborhood is, like, people are always trying to move into our neighborhood, so that helps.
Yeah, they are cute houses too. Crazy.
So what's your thought? Just curious, what's your thoughts on the new house as when you move? Who are
you going to use? Burl or Stacy?
Can we tag team it?
That's what happens anyway. So no pressure because that's
just
what happens.
Kidding.
No. So what do you think of this? Because this time you bought a newer house.
Yeah.
The last time, or you know, what you live in currently, and now where is your mind going this time? At this point,
my mind is different than Cortland's, my husband. I would just love to buy an already established home. And I personally love older homes, really just because of the established trees. But Cortland is wanting to buy land and build on it, and build slowly. We kind of have started in the last year or two. We are no more debt for us. And that includes, we don't really want to have to do a lot of home debt. So we're saving money right now to try to be able to buy land and then the goal is to be able to cash flow to slowly build on it, which I'm sure people are hearing that and they're like, they're crazy. But we're kind of thinking like barn dominium style. So
it's cool. I mean, I'm sure you've researched it, but it's pretty neat. Like whether you're talking about TikTok or just researching barn dominiums, there's some pretty amazing.
There really is
barn dominiums out there, and there's all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and we kind of want to. I think we got the idea from, and maybe I'm wrong on the story, but from Peyton, your partner, that like she build kind of that.
So
shop.
They actually bought that land and it already had that shop on it. So because the previous people that they bought it from were going to build on it.
Gotcha.
So they lived in that shop for a long time.
Yeah.
And saved
I think that story, when I've heard that story, is that's like patience. There's such a, that's a subject that is brought up a lot, like patience. It's like you want to be patient, but also you want to keep moving forward. And when I hear that story, they were patient, but they kept moving forward.
Yeah.
I mean, they were smart.
So I think it's easy to get caught in, I'm patient, but it never happens.
Yeah.
Or I'm not patient and I've really jumped the gun.
Well, and that's been like, I'm not the patient one. If I've been telling everybody, like, we're going to be in Oklahoma by the end of 2022. And here we are, February of 2023, and we're still not moved here. So, so really my goal now is like by the summer.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to be patient just because, like I said, we are not taking on any more debt. And so our goal is to kind of buy the land, and then we're going to cash flow to build kind of a small barn dominium that we can at least kind of divide off for a room for Cambridge and a room for us, and patiently kind of add to it and build for the size and what we want. So
that's smart.
But it's funny whether you're talking about a house that's existing that you're buying or a property that you're buying to build on. Either way, the location is super important. And I think that, because you want to, it's like, okay, where am I at? How far am I from town, or how far am I in town? All these factors.
How close are they to us?
Yeah. Cambridge needs to be able to.
You're laughing, but that is important.
Cambridge needs to be able to run over here and
hop on the golf cart.
Yeah, Addison can get on the whip and go grab her.
Pick her from school.
And I've been asked this. It's like, what kind of what are your goals? But one of the biggest things, I think, family living close, and I think it's pretty important to me.
I mean, for my girls to live down the street from their grandparents and their cousins, I never had that.
Yeah.
Is pretty phenomenal.
And I didn't either.
Yeah.
I did live in the same town as my cousins, but it was a 45-minute drive. Yeah. And I mean, aside from the business being here, like y'all being here is the reason why we want to move. It's either here or it was DFW, and Cortland will have to be in a grave before we move to DFW. So I was like, Oklahoma it is. Yeah. I love it. That works for me. But I just want to be closer to I hope they could hear that. I just want to be closer to family.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people, I didn't really grow up. People have mixed thoughts about like their grandparents. They really do. Some people, oh my gosh, I had the greatest relationship with my grandparents, or they didn't, or whatever. But, my relationship with my grandparents is I did not live in the same town, but we were very close. And I wouldn't say envy is a probably a bad word, but I really respect and love whenever I see, the relationship as a grandparent, that they are close and they're able to take them to school and pick them up, and they're able to, your kid's granddad takes them to breakfast. It's a tradition, the last school day every single year, and has done that since the beginning. And I think that, I love that tradition.
Yeah, he started with Jordan.
Yeah.
And it always worked out because Addison and Jordan went to two different schools. So they never had the same last day. So it's been great.
Yeah.
And my parents live 2 hours away, and they are extremely close to them. We see them quite a bit.
So a big part of their lives. And I think that family atmosphere for kids, for sure.
Yeah.
I think it's good for us, but I think it's really good for the kids.
Well, because they'll have the best memories. Like
they will.
Papa used to pick Addison up quite a bit from school. And there's days I'd pull up, from picking up Jordan from Elk City, and Addison and Papa would be eating their ice cream outside, sitting on the bench.
Yeah.
Those are just the cutest memories.
I did not grow up with my grandparents. close. Well, I say that. My dad's parents did, but my grandmother, like, I don't even remember her. She passed away when I was really young. And my grandfather, I do remember, but he was not somebody that my parents will let pick me up from anywhere.
But then that's another episode on Burl's podcast.
Yeah, that's on Burl's podcast.
Yeah. But my grandmother lived in New Mexico, and being in elementary school, I would go to her house for like a week every summer.
Yeah.
And I remember like her and my grandfather owned like a small apartment complex. And so the apartment they lived in had this little courtyard that was like infested with turtles.
Yeah.
And it was the best. Like, I know I use infested as it sounds like negative, but it was so, like, there was always baby turtles, adult turtles, grandpa turtles. Like, they were just turtles everywhere. So I would just go out there and like play with the turtles, and I loved it. But that ended when my grandfather got sick. But those are just some of like my best memories. And so I want Cambridge to be able to have, I want her to have even like more memories like how your girls do. So I want her to be somewhere close to family. And I want her to have something that she's like, I want to go to Papa and Wowie's, because right now it's horses and even just kind of the like living, like way of living that y'all have out here. And like with my dad and my stepmom, it's baking. My stepmom cooks or bakes a lot. So she always wants to go bake cupcakes and muffins. And
that's cute.
Plus I think the more, diverse that is, that, it kind of helps them develop what they like and what they don't like, and the more diverse situations. And I think country living is a great thing for kids. I really do. I've always thought that. I'm big on that.
Yeah,
it's good. All right, Karis. Well, thank you so much.
We can't wait.
Yes, we can't
for y'all to get here.
All right, so we're going to do overrated, underrated, or just right.
I'm going to turn that into a chant. Since we've been back from auction school, everything turns into a chant.
All right. So your first one is auctioneers.
I think they're underrated.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm so excited to add this to our
repertoire. Is that a word?
Oh, I was going to say portfolio. Yeah. Portfolio.
Yeah.
We're going to do it.
Yeah, I agree. I think auctioneer, as you and I've talked about, I think that, a lot of people feel like that auctioneering is a dying breed, but really, I don't think so. After attending auctioneer school, I realized that it's something that really brings a lot of excitement.
Yeah.
It's something that, people really love to attend, especially where we live. And
definitely.
I think it's just another item that, some people auctions are not for them. Well, then,
and not every property is.
But right, no, absolutely.
You have to determine if that's the right
but
fit.
It's another option,
right?
That we can bring to the table. So.
Agreed.
All right, next one is meetings.
I think in our office, just right.
Yeah,
we do it once a month with the whole team, and then Peyton and I do it once a week for like an hour. Yeah, but that's for her and I to reconnect and catch up.
I'd say in general, not your meetings, but I say in general for me, I think that meetings are overrated. But
I agree.
I think that what it comes down to is communication, and I think I've talked about it that when they do exit interviews for employees in companies, one of the biggest things they talk about is that there's a lack of communication. When you ask
that would be Cambridge.
A survey. Yeah. When you survey like companies, a lot of times lack of communication is at the very top of that list. And I think lots of disagreements happen from miscommunication, whether it's talking about between family, between friends, between, coworkers. And so I think anything you can do to increase the communication. And I just think as long as it's directed and very, intentional, I guess is the best way to say it, very intentional to try to make sure that we're communicating at a high level.
Yeah.
And if meetings do that, then I think that they're good. I think if you're wasting time and really not communicating, then they're not good.
I'm going to say, I used to be a teacher, obviously, and I cannot tell you how many times I'd walk out of a meeting and be like, that could have been an email.
Yeah.
And it was like a waste of an hour that I could have been, planning.
I think you have to be very careful. Yeah. There's all kinds of, advice out there about meetings, but I think what it comes down to is it needs to be quick to the point, It needs to be based for communication. It needs to, if it can be done through an email, then do it through email. If it can be done in another way, do it through another way. So, all right, the last one, donuts that I have.
I'm going to say just right because I love them.
Overrated.
What? No.
I'm with Karis. I think overrated.
I don't understand y'all.
Although says the person that had a donut wall at their wedding instead of wedding cake. But
did I? Who?
Me.
You had a donut?
We didn't do wedding cake.
You had donuts at your wedding?
We had a whole wall that was donuts.
That. Oh, that was cool. It was like a bag wall of donuts. It was cool. I forgot about it. But
in our office, we love some donuts. And I have zero self-control when it comes to donuts. Zero.
As I was telling you, when I do, every once in a while have a donut, I can't just eat one.
No.
There's no. I think that's a rule or something.
I ate 3 yesterday.
I'm a kolache girl, not a donut
I
girl.
love chocolate.
But I'm savory over sweet. So
I was actually thinking this morning I should get up and go get us donuts.
Yeah.
But I didn't.
There you go. That's probably a good thing.
We had cake.
Cake. Birthday cake. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday. Should we say how old you are?
We can.
She's 50. I'm just kidding.
Karis Burl is 50. 48.
48.
Okay, I'm going to wing mine.
All right.
Okay. Let's go. I'm going to start with fun. Gatorade.
Gatorade?
Yeah.
Overrated.
Agreed.
I think it's overrated too. Honestly.
You drink it all the time.
I don't drink it all the time. I drink it sometimes. So when I'm tired of water.
You should say sports drinks.
I say
sports
unless Gatorade is sponsoring us,
they're not
sports drinks.
No, I really do say overrated. I think it has too much sugar.
It does.
I really do.
I just juices
every once in a while it's like a break. To me, it's like better. It's probably not, but it feels better than like drinking pop or drinking Dr. Pepper or drinking Coke.
That's true.
But
sometimes I feel better giving Cambridge a sports drink than I do giving her a soda.
Yeah,
that's good.
I think it's overrated personally.
Okay, next one, Canva.
Underrated.
Agreed.
That's the go.
I'm going to probably go with underrated, but I really don't know enough about it.
It's so amazing.
She's picking ones that she likes.
It's business.
Yeah.
Canva makes me look like I'm good at my job.
It does.
I really don't know much about it.
Cortland gets all these compliments over the things I do on social media, and I'm just like, thanks, Canva.
Well, so Cortland, I guess, you and I say you and I, our office and we had done the same like picture post of something. So Devin had used the same one.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And Cortland's like, why I think he thought maybe we took your picture. And I was like, it's from Canva. Like with
Canva.
different words, but
that's
it's funny.
hilarious.
I'm like Canva.
I didn't notice.
But they're using it in school. Like, Addison was saying PowerPoint today, like when she was showing that. Well, that was all done in Canva.
Yeah.
So it's not just a blank PowerPoint presentation.
Well, and I had when I was teaching, I had like a Canva for Education account. And I never did get my students on it because I left the classroom before I had figured out how to do it. But that was one of my goals for the next year. I was like, we're going to use Canva to do some stuff.
Yeah.
Karis, I don't know if we talked about this, but it brings to mind. You need to check out OpenAI. Oh my gosh.
Chat GPT.
Yeah.
Oh,
let's just make that our next question.
Yeah.
OpenAI.
I think
underrated.
I think it's crazy underrated.
Holy
Do y'all have a Chat
What's
GPT
funny
account?
is every time I tell somebody,
OpenAI is free.
Yeah, but Chat GPT is closed to new users, so I need to find someone that already has an account.
I think I do.
Yeah, we have.
Yeah, I signed up for it.
I need it.
Yeah, no, you can get on
so
it now. We just got on it last week.
If you guys have not checked that out, you've got to check it out. I'll give you the short version. Everybody I tell about this.
Harvard has banned it.
Yeah, every time I tell,
I'm not surprised.
when I tell somebody about this, they're always like roll their eyes kind of thing. And I'm like, quit rolling your eyes. This stuff it's where things are going. But the bottom line is, I believe it was Microsoft spent like something like crazy number. I'm sure I'm wrong.
Like $6 billion.
Yeah. Spent a ton of money on it. And it's reaching out to, I don't know how many points of information out in the internet, and it can write marketing plans for you. And the thing about it is it's not protected information. It's not information. What do you call it? It's not, in other words, it's unique. Unique.
I've seen TikToks of teachers using it to write lesson plans, to write IEP plans, to write. And I just went to a conference last week, with another company, but I went to all their social media stuff, and one of the keynote speakers, who is fantastic. If you don't follow Marky Lemon on Instagram, you should. But she was there doing keynote speaking, and she was talking about AI tools. And she was saying that like she did this just kind of show the power of AI tools. And she used ChatGPT to write a commercial script. I don't remember what the prompt was. Yeah. And then there was another AI tool that she made, like it made like a likeness of her that was like realistic. And then another AI tool that recreated her voice. And so without ever filming anything, she created this whole commercial that was just like beautifully done, all using AI tools. And it looked like she was standing there and she was talking and she never was. And I was like, it's pretty amazing.
It is, yeah.
And
so
you don't
AI
discount
tools is my new thing.
It's so easy to discount this, because I have a tendency sometimes to discount stuff like that, because I'm like, but actually when I got on there, what it took for me personally is getting on there and playing with it. And when I was like, whoa, okay. And just in the other side of that is that now Google is in the works of creating their own, and they're going to spend double the amount of money. They're going to, it's going to reach more points on basically out there on the internet, more information points. So it will be like double as powerful.
That reminds me, I need to add that to our meeting notes.
But it's really phenomenal. It's worth checking out. And
OpenAI.
Yeah, it's definitely underrated. It is definitely one of the things that like people have been talking about a long time is like this AI. And when they think about it, they think about like robots. And yes, we're probably pretty far away from like, robots being very, being, what do you call it? Being a normal everyday thing. But this is the beginning of it, because, what they could not figure out in the past, it seemed like, is really emotional intelligence. They could not figure out those parts of it. And man, this is pretty close.
This is cool. So like for our industry, we'll use it to help write listing descriptions.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
he was using it as an example of how to write, for auctions, you have to have like terms and conditions, and like how you can use that to write terms and conditions. And then you can add, so let's say it writes it, and you say, oh, but I need it to be specific to Oklahoma. So we change, now it's going to rewrite it specific to Oklahoma. Oh, now I need it to be specific to that we're not going to have any reserves.
And it was done in like 15 seconds.
Yeah, it was wild.
Yeah.
Well, and as just an update, ChatGPT is on a waiting list. So you can't get into
probably
OpenAI
because of your conference. That's probably, but
it was on a waiting list before then, from what I was told. But you can sign up for the waiting list, and they'll let new users
so
in.
We both got on it when we were in auction school.
That's incredible. Pretty crazy. I'm going to need to use your login.
All right. Well, Karis, thank you so much for taking the time, and it's always good to see you.
So we'd love for people to follow, review.
Yeah, that's good. Go finish that thought.
Just follow and review.
Yeah, you think about like normal everyday people who are just trying to, I don't know. I mean, I think we're trying to make a difference. We're trying to, it helps us. It helps other people. And so I think following our podcast is important, reviewing it like you were talking about, and also sharing it. Even if you don't have time to listen to the entire, here's what I love about podcasts. I can like let's say I'm going on like driving an hour. Well, I can listen to like the podcast, and let's say in the middle of it, I got a phone call. Well, I can stop it and then later pick up where I was. I don't have to finish it all in one thing, but I think that, there is some good information. Karis, I did want to make sure that we, like how people can get in touch with you, so how they can find you and, Cortland, maybe the roofing, all that. If you will tell people the best way to connect. I'm
on Instagram and Facebook, obviously. I should know my username, but I don't. It's just Stricker 611 on Instagram. But we also own a roofing and construction company called Cambridge Blake Roofing and Construction. So it's Cambridge with a K, Kambridge. It's Cambridge Blake on everything: Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn. You can find us and connect with us. I do all of our marketing and social media for that and for another company. So anyways, I'd love to connect with people.
So if you guys, I think she's worth following, not just because she's my daughter-in-law, but I think that she's
pretty smart.
Well, part of it, I was telling somebody yesterday that, I really watch y'all's stuff because I think there is some very innovative stuff that you post, and
we're real big.
There's some good stuff there.
Yeah, I know one thing that like we didn't like that we see kind of in the construction industry is a lot of people just posting the jobs they do, which of course is important, but we really have a passion of educating the homeowner. So if you look at our social media, you see a lot of kind of educational stuff as well about your home insurance and roofing and that kind of stuff. So if nothing else, just follow us to learn more about your roof and your house.
Yeah. And I think that when you talk about education, it's like, what does education mean? It's like, well, one of the things that's like helps you save money. And a lot of times you don't realize that, like, if you don't, like me, I can say me personally, now there's been 2 times in 50 years. So think about that. 2 times in 50 years where the house that I lived in, the roof was replaced.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, think about that. And so how much do I really know about it? Not enough.
Yeah.
And so part of it is you really helping me to understand it better. And
we like to, like, even on our social media, sometimes I'll post about stuff that you might see in your homeowner's policy that a lot of the time is overlooked. Yeah. And so, yeah, we're just passionate about, obviously we're in it to make money. So we want to do your roof and whatnot, but we also just want to educate people on their insurance policies and their home and those kind of things that you don't have the time to research it. So let me research it and then post it on social media for you to read.
That's good.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thank you so much. Bye.